Welcome to the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, where we break down Bendis' iconic run on Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 1 through 160 in Earth 1610. I'm Zach.
And I'm John.
Hey, John, how you doing on this nice Friday night?
I am doing very well on this nice Friday night. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for agreeing to do it right now. I told you, I texted you throughout the week that
that's right. That's why you said it was Friday night. We always let the listeners know when we're doing this.
Yeah, because that's the first thing they wonder.
Yeah.
I just had like fiber 200, but I'm getting the gig for my home internet, and the guy is coming tomorrow to install the new router. So I didn't want that to cut into our time. But once I get that, I shouldn't be the cause of any more technical issues.
Nice. Yeah, no, this is perfect. I just got off the golf course, which shouldn't surprise anyone.
Of course you did.
Didn't play very well, but had some good shots. Made a birdie. So
nice.
Yeah. If there's any golfer webheads out there, throw a comment at me about golf. I love to talk about it.
That's one sport that I can't keep up with you on.
Yeah, we'll have to get you out on the range.
Oh, yeah. That'll be fun. You'll have a lot to laugh at. So
how's your week been? What you been up to?
My week is good. Last night I caught the Yellow Card tour when it came through Indianapolis.
Okay, Zach, I got to ask something about Yellow Card here. Did you tell me years ago when we were doing door-to-door together that Yellow Card threw away some goodwill by suing someone or something? Am I making this up? Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody told me this about Yellow Card, and I was bummed when they told me.
So, Juice WRLD?
No.
Okay. Well, he was a rapper. He was actually a pretty good rapper. I don't listen to that much modern rap, but I did enjoy him. And his hit song, Lucid Dreams, used the same chord progression as one of the Yellow Card songs, but it wasn't even one of their popular songs. And they aren't the first people who ever used that chord progression. It's been around since classical music. But they sued Juice WRLD while he was alive for using that chord progression and said that he ripped them off. And then he died. And for a minute they dropped the lawsuit, and then they proceeded with it against his estate. And then they got a lot of pushback for that.
Gosh. Okay. I thought you were about to say they got a lot of his estate.
I think they ended up dropping it. I don't think anything ever happened of it, but they tried on more than one occasion to sue Juice WRLD for stealing their chord progression that never made them any money.
That's silly.
Yeah.
I understand if somebody steals the Ocean Avenue, do. But
if I could find you now.
I think that's the only Yellow Card song I'd recognize.
I was surprised.
And I loved that song in 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah. I like pop punk. Yellow Card has never been that band for me, but I was surprised by how many songs they played that I did know.
Yeah, so it was fun.
Yeah. They played the Juice WRLD song, which I enjoyed. Not his version.
I was going to say people booed. Wait, they played the Juice WRLD song?
No, they played the song that they wrote that they sued him because of.
Okay.
Wow, wouldn't that be a trip?
Wouldn't that be a trip if they played that song?
Now that would be tasteless.
Maybe if they apologized beforehand. They were like, hey, this is messed up that we kind of did this, sorry.
I don't know that they've ever addressed it. I think they just let their lawyers handle everything.
So was this at Klipsch?
It was not. It was at the TCU Amphitheater at White River. But it was kind of cool. So I had been thinking about maybe going to this show for a few months. And even the day before the show, I was listening to one of the opening bands on my morning commute, and then got to work and just checked what the prices were for the tickets, but didn't get them. And then like the night before the show, my friend Max texted me and said that someone on the tour party put him on the guest list and he had a +1. So he got me in for free and we got into the pit.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Speaking of concert shows, maybe you heard that Taylor Swift is coming to Indy for a couple of nights.
Did you get your ticket?
So I didn't even know about this. I was talking to my sister about it, and she was like, "Do you want to go to this?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." Like, but how are we going to go? Right? Tickets to Taylor Swift concert. Apparently, there's like a lottery or something. I don't know. So I didn't enter into it. My sister did enter into it. Unfortunately, she did not get it. But my sister-in-law did enter into it, and you get 4 tickets. And she is taking her husband, who's my brother, and not my sister and I.
Oh no!
And like 2 of their friends, and so Caitlin and I can buy tickets for $1,500 if we want, which we obviously are not going to do.
Hey, it's like next year though, so they could lose those friends in a year.
Well, or something could happen to them.
Nice friends you got here. It'd be a shame if there was a nail in their tire.
Listeners, if you want my sister and I to go to this Taylor Swift concert, just a couple people we've got to take care of first.
We're just going to say this address.
Don't kill my family's friends.
For no apparent reason. We don't know who lives there, but 1226 West...
But I'm sure that will be very, very fun. And yeah, I don't even know. Is it a year away? So maybe we can get tickets in the next year.
Well,
somehow. You
kind of buried the lead. I did see the prices really are like $1,300 a ticket for the cheapest ones. I saw Barstool Indie posted that today.
So that's not face value though. Like if you get the lottery, it's not that much, right?
I think they said available tickets left. So maybe the lottery system is done or something, and now I think anyone who wants to pay that much.
$150.
That is insane to me. Now, granted, I'm used to paying $10. There being no stage, I grab the mic and I hang out with the singer afterwards. And you could not do any of those things at Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
but paying over $1,000 to see an artist just feels gross to me.
I couldn't. I mean, I would do that. I would do that. If I was making not second year teacher money, I would probably pay $1,000 to go see Taylor Swift, because that sounds pretty fun. But it is what it is.
I don't even think if you put like 10 of my favorite bands on a festival lineup, I would pay $1,500 just for the ticket.
Okay.
Like
I probably wouldn't either. That would be tough to actually pull the trigger on.
Like that's what I'm saying. It's just so much money.
$1,500.
Yes, liking someone's music is one thing, but $1,500.
Now I did see Taylor back in college, and it was amazing. But.
And how much did that cost?
Not that much, I promise. Because me and like 6 college friends went. So you know what, dude? I got a ticket right here next, because I got my Taylor Swift poster.
Yeah,
and the ticket for the concert is underneath it. So let me go walk over and see if the price is on.
I'm not a Swiftie, but I'm gonna blow John's mind. I can tell that was the Speak Now tour, was it not?
That was the Speak Now tour. Yes, it was, which is my favorite album. And that ticket cost $71.50 to see Taylor Swift 11 years ago. And it was amazing.
That was considered a lot.
Probably, because even back then. Oh, she was a performer. She was changing outfits every song.
Yeah.
Floating around.
Not even with wires. She's just that ethereal.
Yeah, it was just that great.
Wow. Well, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if we're done talking about
Well, here, I got one more thing that's come across my mind a couple times this week, and I don't think it's a big enough thing for the end, so we'll just drop it here. But Zach and listeners, I'm sure you can all remember that scene in Avengers Endgame where all of the female superheroes come together and they're like, how are you going to get it through all of them? And then they all come together. They're like, she's got help. And you know the scene I'm talking about, Zach?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think that is a bad scene. I actually cried the first time I saw that, which I cried everything.
Stop.
But even Zach, every time I watch that movie, or even when I'm watching a video and they are talking about how that scene is silly and pandering, I cry watching it.
Oh my God.
My sister and I were watching it once, and of course that happened, and she looked over at me and she's like the exact she looked over and was like, this is so stupid, and I have like tears running out of my eyes.
This guy just loves women that much.
I think it's a good scene, and Zach, I think about the little girls who probably do think that that's like a really cool thing, that they don't. Maybe it is pandering, but those little girls don't know that they're being pandered to. They probably just think so. So anyway, I'm going to get on my soapbox here because I saw a video about it this week that was talking about how it was like silly, and of course watching it, I was like, I don't agree with this, and I'm going to tell the listeners.
So pandering's okay if your target audience is too naive to know they're being pandered to.
Stop it. I don't think it's pandering.
The funniest thing I think about this isn't your take. It's how out of nowhere it came.
I know. It's this movie that's like 5 years old.
You know what I was just thinking about a couple of hours ago?
What?
I was out there mowing my lawn, and I was just kind of daydreaming. And I've had this thought for a while, but I think Avengers Infinity War should have ended the second Thanos snapped. And they should have left it as like the biggest cliffhanger in movie history. Like, they shouldn't have shown you who got dusted away and who didn't. They should have left that for like a month and or 2 months, or like just let it settle and let people wonder. And then either release like a comic that tells it and have people get into comic book stores and actually buy something and maybe pick up other Marvel comics and get new readers through like cross promotion. Or they should have like made it the post credit scene for whatever their next movie was to get people in to see that movie. But I think that movie is
that was Captain Marvel.
Was it?
Yeah, because the Captain Marvel came out in between those things, in between the Avengers.
I kind of thought it was Ant-Man and Wasp, but I could be wrong.
It did also.
Maybe they could have split up a couple scenes across those movies.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I thought that when it happened, I was like, after he snapped, I was like, ooh, it'd be so cool if they just rolled credits right now, and then they didn't, and I still have that thought to this day.
Instead, we had to watch all of our favorite heroes die.
Yes. And then also, obviously, this is kind of informed with hindsight, but they should have let Black Panther be one of the heroes that lived and was useful in Endgame.
Yeah.
Obviously, they didn't know at that time that they weren't going to have, more movies from him. But
dude, there's some really sad. Like, if you go back and watch Black Panther, man, he's just got some lines that, hit differently after the fact. And it's just, that's really sad.
I've seen interviews before where he's like laughing. People are like, oh, tell us what happens in the next one. And he's like, I'm dead. And they're like, oh, stop it. You're not dead. He's like, no, really, I'm dead. I'm not in it.
He's like,
and it's like,
what are you talking about? You watched me turn into dust on the screen.
Well, no, he was referencing the fact that he knew he wasn't going to live to make another movie, but they thought he was telling a joke.
Oh, that's really sad.
There's like multiple interviews where he says stuff like that. They're like, "Oh, you went through so much to get into that physique for the movie," and he's like, huh, "You have no idea. Someday I'll live to tell the tale." Because he was
That'd be
like
interesting to watch.
He was like working out between like chemotherapy.
Yeah. Okay, can we get into Spider-Man before we depress everyone?
Yeah, let's get into the fun books.
Okay, Better Business Bureau, take it away.
Every business says they're better. But the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
All right, and we're back. So, gonna finish out this Ultimate 6 miniseries today.
It's been pretty good. I'm really hoping that these last 2 issues stick the landing.
We'll see. So, issue 6, this one is written by Brian Michael Bendis, penciled by Trevor Hairsine, inked by Danny Mickey, colored by Avalon Studios, and lettered by Chris Eliopoulos.
These were the first 2 issues that I ever read on an iPad or tablet versus my phone, and it is so much more enjoyable of an experience.
World of our listeners, right?
It truly is. It truly is. If any of our listeners are, on a phone and they could use an iPad, I'd recommend it.
I had Marvel Unlimited for like 2 years just on my phone before I even owned an iPad. And I read hundreds of issues like that. And then once I got an iPad, I could not go back. Like, you will never catch me reading on my phone anymore.
Yeah. And also, just before you do get started here, Zach already knows this, but I'm watching a friend's dog this weekend. So if you do hear barking in the background, and now he's in this room, so we've got a co-host in the studio, but he is a Frenchie and he breathes insanely heavy and hard. So because his face is so flat. So if you guys do hear him breathing or panting or barking, I apologize. Sorry. Zach, go ahead and edit that stuff out, okay?
All right, I'll do my best. So we open on the Ultimates fighting the Sinister Six on the White House lawn. And as the battle happens, Peter is standing in the middle of it all, unmasked, just watching in shock.
And this very first page is a pretty cool one. I mean, Green Goblin just looks enormous in front of the White House, and Wasp and Captain America look like a similar size, but because they're both just being dwarfed by Green Goblin, I think.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that Green Goblin and Captain America are kind of juxtaposed here, because I was thinking back to when we were comparing characters to NFL prospects so long ago, and I listened to that
Captain
again.
America was Bryce Young.
Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson.
He
the
was
prototypical,
yes.
Everything. Yeah, okay.
Prototypical running back athlete that you would make in a lab. And then I said Anthony Richardson was the Green Goblin because it's like the exact same thing, but bigger, stronger, faster, and can throw fireballs. And it's like, there really is this natural comparison in this universe to, Captain America and Green Goblin, because Green Goblin was like the closest they came to.
Well, they've made the comparison in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to give myself a little credit and had to mention Anthony Richardson once on this pod. So Iron Man says,
you think he plays tomorrow?
They said he's starting.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to tune in.
Yeah, I'm excited. So Iron Man says he's trying to lock onto the genetic code of one of the villains so S.H.I.E.L.D. can temporarily paralyze them. But before he can choose one, Electro disrupts his armor and he falls to the ground. And the Green Goblin tells Peter, "Boy, do something useful." And Peter raises a shaky fist at Captain America, who says, "Kid, what are you doing?" And Peter explains, I have to. He's going to kill my aunt." And Cap says, "No, he won't." And Peter says, "Yes, he will. He's nuts." And the two start grappling as Cap tells Peter, "No, he won't. We have her. We picked her up right after he kidnapped you. She's safe." And Peter stops fighting Cap and walks over to Norman.
Well, hey, 1 second. So before they stop fighting and right after he says she's safe, and Peter asked one more time, "You have her." I mean, what's that panel remind you of?
Is it when they fight in Captain America Civil War?
It is, but the reason that it even looks like that is because in the comics Civil War, that's like a very famous like Captain America Iron Man pose.
Oh, where they're grappling.
And that's why they did it in Captain America Civil War for that like exact shot where they, like focused on them exactly like that. And that's got to be, I mean, obviously a callback to that right here.
I don't think this, I mean, maybe it did. I think that's just a fighting pose that Captain America uses. I don't think this was influential enough of a comic to affect Captain America Civil War, but I could be wrong.
No. That's not what I'm saying. When did this comic come out? This one?
Probably 2004.
Okay, I'm saying
2003.
And when did the Civil War comic line come out?
Like 2006 or 7.
It came out after this did.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Zach, I thought this comic that we were reading right now just came out in like the last 6 months.
This right now?
Yeah.
No.
That's why I thought we were reading it, because it like
you
just came out and you had never read it before, and it was like first read. It just came out.
No, that's the Ultimate Invasion that's being written by Jonathan Hickman. And that actually
funny.
Hasn't even gotten to Earth 1610 yet. I don't know if it's going to, or if he's creating a new Ultimate Universe. No, this is just something from the original Ultimate Spider-Man run that I had never found.
Oh, interesting. Well, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if the Civil War comic run did see this and like, I don't know, take that. Maybe you think that maybe it didn't, but I'm trying to find the Civil War comic pose right now just on Google, but I'm having a hard time. But anyway, you can move on. Yeah, webheads, there's a scene where they're fighting, and it looks like that one scene from Captain America Civil War.
You know the one.
Yeah.
So Cap tells Peter that they have his aunt, and Peter stops fighting Cap and walks over to Norman, who says, "Peter, I told you to." And Peter punches the goblin in the jaw so hard, he flies back and lands on his back. And just as Peter approaches him to continue attacking, one of Doc Ock's claws grabs him around the neck and throws Peter through the window of the Oval Office. And this issue kind of jumps because there's so many characters and there's so many fights going on separately. The whole thing is kind of just this person does something and then we go see this person do something. So we now focus on Wasp, and Wasp is flying around Doc Ock's head telling him, "Octavius, look what you've done to yourself. You were a man of science, a man of impeccable," and Otto flicks her over the White House fence with his fingers, saying, "Don't lecture me." And Janet says, all right then, and flies back towards Otto and straight into his mouth. And then, John, did you understand what was happening here? I have a guess, but I wanted to see what you think.
Zach, I did not understand what was happening in any of the fights, the way they were drawn. I have written in my notes a couple different times that some of the action is just confusing to see what's going on. It's just like the things are just like flying into each other, and every two panels has like craboom on it, or like there's just some onomatopoeia. Is that what those are called? But
yes,
yeah, and it's just so let's see. She flies into his mouth, and then I don't know. I don't know what's happening. He's like, no.
I said she lifts him into the air by the roof of his mouth and then drops him to the ground and crawls out. Because
that's very cool.
He's like levitate. It is cool, but I wish we knew for sure that's what was happening.
That's my problem with a lot of these it's just like that one Captain America scene where where they don't show us Captain America walking up to Nick Fury and we were like, this isn't drawn properly, Yeah.
And this is the same artist.
I think there's a couple in these action scenes. It's like, man, it's like if you were a director, you had the shot but you only took like a third of it and just randomly chose that to do the panel on, because it's like, I can tell there's more off screen that needs to be shown to understand this,
That's a good way of describing that.
Thanks.
It is good to see really bad comic, or not even like bad, like everyone's
I don't think this is bad at all. I think it's all great. I wish we were seeing more of it,
Yeah, I take that back. Everything's drawn properly. Everything looks clean. It's just not good visual storytelling for the comics medium.
It's just they're zoomed in just too much on like a lot of shots. They just need to take like a slight, which I know it's a drawing and they're not zooming, but that's what it seems like. It's just a tight shot instead of a medium.
It makes me appreciate it that every time we've had that complaint, for the most part, it's been in this series or Ultimates or some of the team up issues. But for the most part, the main series, they chose an artist that's good at this.
Yeah.
Because not all of them are. They're like professional level artists that deserve to be where they're at, who struggle with this.
Yeah.
So it really makes you appreciate it when it's done well.
Definitely.
Meanwhile, in the Oval Office, Kraven starts ranting and raving in front of Peter, talking about how he lost his show and wife because of a stupid kid.
Did you look back to see if they were married in the original run? I'm pretty sure that they were not married. I'm pretty sure it was like a rumor that they were dating. It was unclear. And now it's like he has a wife that Peter made him lose.
You and I couldn't figure out what they were to each other, but now retroactively we're being told they were married.
They were married, yeah.
Yeah. And she never had a speaking role.
But they're not married anymore, so it's not like it mattered.
Yeah, we will never see her again. But I just think it's funny that she had a cool character design and a name, and they kind of talked about her, but we have no idea who she is. And she's like an extra on a TV show that they can't pay to say a line. Yeah, so Kraven's jawing at Peter in the Oval Office, and all of a sudden, off screen, he gets electrocuted by a big lightning blast. And at first I said, I guess that was from Electro for some reason, but then I realized later Thor can also do that, so it makes more sense that Thor blasted him. But we never actually see that.
And this entire page right here, I don't know if you're looking at it, but not to really harp on this, but I do think that this page is a good like reference for what we were talking about, because the first panel on it, we don't see all of Peter or all of Craven. You know, we just know that they're looking at each other because we can see like part of them. Then the second panel, we are like just looking at Craven's feet. You know, that's like all that's in the shot almost, except Peter like in the background. And
directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah. And then, yeah, he just gets electrocuted. We've got a big kraboom, and we don't know who it's from. Peter doesn't know who it's from, and then, you know, it's just like really close shots of Craven's face and Peter's face, and it's just like I don't know. This just could be shown a little bit better. You know
the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Have one panel of Thor watching them from a distance, and then show him get electrocuted.
Yeah,
I mean, unless they just, obviously the idea is we'll just have it show it comes out of nowhere. But that's not as fun.
Also, it's hard when there's a villain with electric powers and a hero with electric powers, and you don't know which one did it.
Yeah.
You know the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where the guy is like dancing with the sword, and you think there's about to be some crazy battle, and then Indiana Jones just shoots him?
Yes.
This scene is like that, but if you never saw anyone fire the gun.
That's exactly what it's like. And now I have a fun fact about that scene, Zach. Tell me if you already know this fun fact I'm about to say.
I do, but I'll let you say it for the listeners.
Oh, they already know. If they're listening to a comic book podcast, they've already heard this. But the reason Indiana Jones and that guy were supposed to have some big like samurai fight, and Indiana Jones had like food poisoning and diarrhea, so he just like shot him, and they did that, and he went to like relieve himself, I guess, and the day was over.
I didn't hear that. I thought he was just tired from shooting the whole day, and he said, hey, wouldn't it just be funny if I shot him instead? And they were like, yeah, actually, that would be funny.
Oh, well, maybe. I had always heard that he was sick.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
So, listeners, you probably already knew that, but
okay,
that's
now
like that's like one of those fun facts that just everybody knows because it's been told a million times over all the years.
John, I know we're already off the rails, but I think these issues won't take us too long. So I just got to ask, flu game. Do you think Jordan was actually sick, or do you think he was like hungover?
So Jalen Rose, ex-Indiana Pacer, came to IU for a college game day. That's football, but whatever the equivalent to college game day is for basketball, for an IU game. And apparently he went out drinking, and he was kind of blabbing that Jordan was just hungover as could be, and he was not. I don't know how Jalen Rose would know this information either, but that's the story.
That's what I've heard too.
There is one picture. It's like a really famous shot of Jordan getting like carried off by Pippen. You know, Pippen like supporting him. I don't know if you can picture the picture that I'm talking about, but
I think I can.
If Jordan was just hungover, he is just like a wimp.
I think I choose to believe that it was a flu, just because that makes it sound cooler.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, this is not a Michael Jordan podcast. I'm going to get back on track.
But it is the number one comic book podcast for sports fans, and the number one sports podcast for comic book fans. So
that's true. I think we've hit our quota for the day. Out on the lawn, the Sandman is trying to crush Iron Man, whose armor just came back online. And a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent asks him whose genetic code sequence he wants first, and Tony says Sandman, because that's the one who's attacking him right then. And he blasts Sandman with a laser, and Sandman apparently disintegrates into sand. But he's like dead, maybe. It's kind of unclear what this laser does. If it depowers them, or kills them, or paralyzes them, because they've said a couple different things.
Yeah. You know, it would probably be fun to go back and reread these past couple issues, doing my Robert Downey Jr. like impression as I'm reading the Iron Man lines, because when you said like, and he asked for Sandman because Sandman is currently like, he's got him pinned down with like a fist of sand. I can like see Robert Downey Jr. just like saying these lines when they're like, what file do you want? And he's like, I'm going to go with the Sandman file, as he's just getting annihilated. What a gem. What a gem of an actor.
You can read it with some dry humor to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Green Goblin and Cap are fighting, and Norman says, "It is my honor to kill you today. If it were not for you, I would not." And then Cap interrupts him with a shield to the face. But we can assume he was saying, like, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have become what I am. And
okay.
Norman gets distracted and after the shield to the face and just goes on a different tangent, and he starts screaming about how he wants to kill Nick Fury. When all of a sudden we hear a voice from off panel say, "Dad?" And we see Harry Osborn standing on the White House lawn staring at Norman. And Peter says, "Oh God, Harry." And Harry says to Norman, "They told me to tell you you need to stop. You have to stop." And the Green Goblin just looks at him.
And the Goblin's also like, I wrote, he's perennially on fire, but only on his back.
Oh yeah, that is interesting. That seems like just a stylistic choice by this penciler.
Definitely.
Yeah, because we've not seen that before.
Yeah. Boy, I like this one. I'm getting a lot of enjoyment out of this series. I also think something underrated about it, but these are very quick reads. You know, I don't actually know how many
17 pages.
17, and I know the next one's only like 18, and I kind of think that's like a perfect length for a comic. Maybe that's just because I have to take notes on 2 of them every week, but but yeah.
I was going to say, it says 17 pages on Marvel Unlimited, but I'm realizing that includes...
The cover is 1, the title page is 2.
Cover and title page. So it's 15 pages.
Yeah.
And most of it's action.
Yeah, that is why this one went specifically fast, because it was a lot of action scenes. My only negative about it, we already talked about, I think some of the panels just weren't drawn clearly enough, but it didn't stop me from enjoying the issue at all. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
All right.
Which I think is a good score, like that's about where we put a lot of the Ultimate Spider-Man issues. So, but anyway, I think it could have been a little bit better, but I think 7 out of 10 is still a very respectable score. I don't have a grading scale though.
I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 unclear panels.
Okay, I'll give it a 7 out of 10 unclear panels, which would really be more like a 3 out of 10 unclear panels.
Right.
Well,
I'm not going to convert the double negative. I'm just going to say it's a 6 out of 10 unclear panels because obviously of the unclear panels, but also the scene where Doc Ock just flicks Wasp away, not even with one of his metal arms, just his human hand. He just reaches out and flicks her and she goes flying. I didn't like that because she's one of the only Ultimates that I'm invested in or care about at all. And it just makes her look like such a chump. Like you would think she can fly faster than a middle-aged man's hand can reach out and flick her.
Yeah. That's what there's a scene in I think it's this Ant-Man movie that just came out where that happens to one of them. They're just like flying at Kang and he just like flicks them away.
It's such a stupid way to have a villain fight a miniature hero.
Yeah.
It feels lazy to me.
I mean, I guess if a fly was flying at your face, you'd smack it away before it got there.
You can't flick it.
But considering right after he flicked her away, she flew fast enough to go up into his mouth and lift him up in the air.
Yeah, she messed him up. It was impressive, but also gross. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, it doesn't seem like any of the other heroes really, get knocked down a peg in this issue. Like, you don't.
Iron Man was getting knocked up pretty good.
Okay, yeah, I take that back. I think it's funny that we didn't really see Hawkeye or Black Widow here at all.
Hawkeye's just like in the background of a lot of these panels, just like drawn in, but he's like not doing any, or he's just always got like his bow and arrow, but we never actually see him like fighting.
Right. Because people like Kraven or Electro, he should be able to just shoot them dead with an arrow if he's like that good. So he's
Doc Ock. Put an arrow in his head. He's a normal guy.
He's presumably either missing or wasting all his arrows on the guy made of sand and the indestructible goblin.
That would be such a funny like parody video, like an SNL video of like the Avengers and yeah, Hawkeye's just like laying arrows into Sandman and Green Goblin who have no effect, and then these like normal people are just causing chaos.
That's what's happening in this comic.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And then Black Widow's like, I
never even saw her in this.
Yeah. She's like down the street getting coffee.
Yeah. And presumably Quicksilver is somewhere if we slow it down.
Yeah. If you go just slow enough, you'll see he was really the one taking out all the bad guys.
Okay. You got anything else on this one?
Nope. I'm ready. Let's get into the finale.
57. This is the finale. Yeah. Pretty nice looking title page. We get the full Sinister Six on the title page. I really don't like how Electro looks. I don't like that he looks so much like Dr. Manhattan. I don't like that he has a Ken doll private parts.
No, he's
got it. I mean, that's like what is that like? Is what it looks like.
If we saw him from the back right now, you get everything.
That you like have to wonder is that actually is he like, because
he's got
Sandman and Green Goblin are just getting a face full of his like junk right now. Okay, but it is a cool cover. I think my only complaint on it is the entire Sinister Six is on it, and they are still counting Peter as one of the Sinister Six. And Zach, I like our listeners, I'm sure, are still hoping that a random sixth villain will enter into the arena somehow. Spoiler alert, that doesn't happen. But I was thinking maybe Harry got powers and Harry's going to join the team and be the Sinister Six.
Wow, wouldn't that be crazy if Harry had powers?
That'd be awesome. Was that a tease?
No.
Oh.
Maybe.
Okay, so Peter's posing with all the villains. I don't really like it, but it's a cool cover. So Harry and his dad are face to face, and Goblin is perennially on fire. And Cap, Tony, and Peter are all watching as Goblin says, "So this is what the great Nick Fury has sunk to, shoving my own child in front of me." And Harry begs his dad to stop, telling him that he came on his own. And as Harry and Norman talk, Tony is kind of loading up his genetic, what did we call it? Genetic something.
It's like a laser.
Yeah. And it like takes away their powers. And Tony's loading this up, but it kind of looks like Harry is getting through to his dad, and Harry's begging his father to stop, and it kind of looks like Osborn's coming to his senses. He's sort of reverting back to human. And as this is happening, Tony fires the genetic blast at Osborn. as somebody says, Tony, wait. Do you think that's Nick Fury in his ear, or is that just one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents or something? Or do you think it doesn't
We
matter?
don't have
It's
any
just
way to
someone?
know.
Yeah. And so Tony shoots him, and the blast turns Goblin into this like humongous mutated goblin that's like got a half human face, and I think it kind of looks like those aliens from the last Ultimates who have like no form. I don't know if his face reminded you of that at all.
It reminded me of something else that's like I've seen in comics that's way too deep in the weeds to even explain to you.
Is it Venom?
No, it's in Secret Wars in 2015. There was like a mini series where Nightcrawler from the X-Men got turned into like a demon dragon, and his face looks like that.
Oh, nice. Zach, I think you should always mention that stuff, no matter how in the weeds it is. Because someone might be like, oh, that's cool. I want to see that. I'm going to Google it.
That was the Inferno Secret Wars miniseries.
So Harry's like scared as can be. He's like screaming. Goblin's like going crazy and yelling, and he's like, I'll kill you. And then we get this next page where a machine gun from over Harry's shoulder just begins firing. Are you looking at this, Zach? Nick Fury is not on that page shooting that machine gun. He was mistakenly not drawn, I think. Or he is supposed to have like an invisibility thing on.
It's that one. Because he did the same thing in the Ultimates finale.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He just like appeared next to Herr Kleiser or whatever and had this same machine gun.
That's right. So that's like his thing.
He's got one move.
He just shows up invisible with a machine gun.
Yeah. Which is really funny because it doesn't do him any good the second he starts shooting the machine gun.
Yeah. So he's just spraying bullets, and now he does appear behind Harry. That's why I thought maybe he was just like forgotten to be drawn, because we don't get a panel of him like becoming not invisible anymore, you know.
I think he just turned it off once he started blasting, because clearly they know where he is.
So he started blasting, and then he turned off his invisibility, and he's talking to Harry, and he says, sorry, kid, this wasn't part of the plan. And he just keeps spraying bullets into Osborn, and we see Captain America gets a good shield throw at him. And Peter's pretty like upset. He's like, because Peter's mask is off during all this, so we can assume that Harry has probably seen him at this point and knows that he's Spider-Man. And
yeah, we haven't. Well, I guess he did find out he was Spider-Man the last time they met.
Did he?
I think he did. I think he did when we did the Goblin Returns arc.
Yeah, maybe
at the very end. Yeah,
maybe.
For a second here, I was like, "Are they going to address him finding out Peter's secret identity?"
Listeners, leave a comment. Did Harry find out his identity in the last one? Zach might go back and look, but I'm not.
Yeah, I can find it. Well, I can find out right now. I've got the trade paperback over here.
Listeners, leave a comment so Zach doesn't have to find out. He already walked away to grab his comic. Cute cat you've got there behind you.
Oh, thank you. There he is, unmasked next to Harry.
Unmasked. Yep.
So Harry already knew that.
Okay. So on the next page, we see a humongous thing of lightning, a big crack-a-boom. And I do think it's so funny that they use that as like the onomatopoeia word so many times. Like, it's always crack-a-boom.
They got to come up with new sounds.
And Tony is like, is that Thor or Electro? And We don't know either. Zach and I haven't known the whole 2 issues. So.
Buddy, we're all asking that question.
Yeah. So it was Thor. He comes down, and apparently, it's like mission accomplished. they're all like, job well done.
I guess he was fighting Electro up in the clouds, and we didn't see it.
That's probably what it was. Yeah, they just go, well done, Thor, and he goes, are we through here? We are. Alpha team, head out. And it's like, okay, wow, that ended fast. It reminds me of every time S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't finish the job, and they're like, mission accomplished, time to go. So Peter hugs Harry, and he apologizes, and he says, he didn't deserve any of this. And Harry, hugging Peter back, just says, I'll kill all of you for this. And it's just so weird. He's like embracing him in a hug, like crying. And I don't know. Did you have any thoughts of that at all? He doesn't like even look angry. He's like sobbing.
I know.
Hugging Peter.
Do you remember what we said about his dad in the last episode? That it seemed like he was being warm to Peter, and then without breaking tone, he said, I'll kill your aunt. This kind of feels like Harry's inner, his father is coming out in him a little bit.
Oh, man. I wonder if that is you being a better like audience member than it is them being good writers. Like, I wonder if they purposefully made that connection, or if that's just something that like you're picking up on. That is a good point.
I don't know. I think I err on the side of saying they know what they're doing. Because it really feels like they maybe wanted to give a big push to this series, because they had Bendis probably at the height of his popularity writing it while he was writing the regular Spider-Man book, plus all the other stuff he was on. They had those pages in the first issue that was drawn by Joe Quesada, and they don't have him do, pencils anymore for just anything.
Yeah.
It feels like at moments they really wanted this to be like a big event, but then other things were just very clearly not thought out. So I don't know what to make of this whole series.
Yeah. So Fury tells Peter that he needs to get out of here, and Peter wants to stay because he's worried about Harry. But Fury tells him that they've got it under control, which is probably like that's like the magic words for knowing that it's not under control at all. And then Zach, I really liked these last like 7 or 8 pages, or however long it was from now until the end of it. I really liked them. So we cut to a White House briefing, and it's the press secretary and they're telling the country that this was an act of terrorism cleaned up by the brave efforts of Nick Fury and the Ultimates. And he says that there are no casualties in the attack. What's your opinion on that?
Except for maybe Sandman.
Well, no. We know that that's not true, because
you're
Electro
right.
fried at least that one guy whose skull was just there.
We saw a whole skeleton.
Zach, this is why I get so bothered when they just kill off random people, because now you've got the White House press secretary covering up this stuff. They're like, Nick Fury and the Ultimates, they're so great. They stopped this. There were no casualties. They did such a good job. That guy's family knows that there was a casualty of that fight, Now,
this is definitely knowing more than they were intending to write.
I don't think so.
Noticing things.
No, I don't think so. I think that this press secretary speech, that is what it's supposed to sound like, is like things, it's like being swept under the rug, like
it's cynical.
Something happened, but yeah, kind of. And I just don't know why they wouldn't be like, there was one casualty. It was brave Hearth Michaelson, and he's survived by his loving wife and kid. I would it be that hard to say that?
It does kind of echo that moment in Ultimates when there was all of those helicarriers that got nuked, and they were like, well, we just lost 60,000 men, but they were all like black ops, like no one, they're off the record. No one's going to know they died.
At least none of the Ultimates died. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, maybe it was just a mistake and they just kind of forgot that they like drew in that skull or something. But I have a hard time believing that none of those people in the White House when Electro attacked also died.
Yeah,
we like see electricity like flying all over the room at them.
We saw lightning beams piercing their chests and coming out the other side.
Yeah, so
I don't think they walked it off.
I think that this is a cover up, which is very American. It's on brand.
Bro, you're about to get sniped before we stop recording.
That's why I stopped talking. Never mind. I don't have any problems with this at all. The press secretary, there's no casualties, and he's tooting Nick Fury and the Ultimate's horn. And this speech is intercut with panels showing the members of the Sinister Five back in custody. And we kind of go through them one at a time. And Electro is first, and he says he was helping S.H.I.E.L.D. the whole time. He was just biding his time to take down Osborn. And this could be interesting because there were a lot of electrical blasts that we don't know who they were. What if it was Electro when Peter and Kraven were about to start fighting that zapped Kraven? Maybe, we don't know because it wasn't drawn for us.
There's no way, but he could make that defense.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, there was a lot of electricity helping you guys out. You think that was all Thor? So next we see Kraven. I don't think that the guards bought it, but next we see Kraven, and Kraven says he was under mind control. He says it was Doc Ock and Goblin. They must have gave me something, and it was mind control. Once again, I don't think that the guards are buying it. And then we see Flint Marko, who, Zach, tell me if I'm like looking at this correctly, but is he just like 4 big barrels of sand?
They've got him jarred up in little mason jars on his shelf labeled Flint Marko.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I like how they had to separate it into different jars just to be safe.
Yeah, I know. That is funny. He's in like 4 different jars. Yeah. How would that work? I don't know. S.H.I.E.L.D's probably thought it through.
What if certain grains have to be something? So it's like, shoot.
That's what I wonder.
My foot is in this jar, but part of my eye is in that jar, but my hand is over here.
And my brain's in another jar, like by itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then we see Otto completely detained. He's got restraints around every part of him, and he asks where his arms are, and the guards tell him that they're gone. They said they chopped them up into little bits of metal and melted them. They're gone, Dr. Octopus. And Otto tells the guards that he knows they're lying. He can feel the arms, and the guards call him crazy, and they tell him he's going to rot in a prison cell, and they leave the room. And as soon as they get into the hallway, the agents ask each other, so where are the arms at? And the other one says, a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility 30 miles away. And the other one says, we probably need to move those further away. And why not just chop them up? Why not just chop his arms up? Why are we doing this again? They're so absurd.
Remember when they brought him into the same room as them just to talk about how cool they were?
That's like what they're going to do again.
Now they've got him in a box in some warehouse like the freaking Ark of the Covenant at the end of Raiders.
It is really cool that he can feel them. I think he is he's probably my favorite character of the Sinister Five. is Doc Ock.
I don't mean to spoil anything, but later there's going to be an incredibly stupid retcon that explains that.
Okay.
It's like one of the things that frustrates me the most about this run.
Retcon's what? That he can feel his arms?
A retcon is retroactive continuity.
I know what a retcon is.
For the listeners that don't.
Yeah.
You'll see it. It's very dumb.
Okay, I can't wait. And yeah, okay. So then we see Janet visiting an unconscious Hank at the hospital. I almost forgot that Hank almost died. Darn it. So
I didn't
close.
realize he was hurt that bad. And honestly, I didn't care.
Me neither. Yeah, never thought about him. And the doctor says Hank is in serious but stable condition, and he should survive barring any unforeseen. And right at that moment, he is cut off by Janet, who says, "Thank you, doctor," and asks if there's any more updates on him to call Nick Fury instead of her. And is she going to kill her husband? Isn't that what it sounds like when they cut the sentence off? He should survive barring any unforeseen. Okay, thank you, doctor.
No, I think the implication is she was checking on him while he was unconscious, and he's not going to know that she maybe still cares about him, but she's not going to act on it or whatever. I think it's meant to be like an interpersonal moment that tells us something about her. I don't think she's going to pull the plug.
Okay. And then Peter gets ready to leave with an agent who is taking him and Aunt May home. And the agent explains this ruse that they've been playing with Aunt May the whole day, where she thinks that they have both been at the SHIELD facility the whole time, just in separate areas. And Peter's worried that she's going to be mad. I do think it's always really cute. Whenever anything happens to Peter, he's always like, Aunt May's going to be so mad. Aunt May's not mad, is she? And as he's saying this, they cut to Aunt May screaming that she is going to sue everyone and everything. And she calls them all Nazis for locking her and Peter up all day. And she's screaming for Peter. And as she's screaming, she just hears Aunt May from behind her. And she and Peter hug, and she says, "Thank God." And the agents confirm that they caught Osborn, and he is back in custody. Pretty cute. Let me go to this page. Yeah, it is. That is a cute drawing of them. And we then see Osborn, who is a half human, half goblin, in a cryo freeze. And Captain America says, "Just put a bullet in the back of his neck." And that is almost word for word what I was thinking when I saw him unconscious there. I've had to freeze him. I'm like, just kill him.
I think it's
we
funny.
already went through this.
Nick Fury unloaded a whole clip in him, and he's clearly still alive. And your solution is to shoot him one more time?
But there's a difference. I think there's a difference between a guy lying there unconscious and putting a gun against his head and shooting him than spraying bullets into this giant beast of a thing from a distance, you know?
His tough skin doesn't know if he's conscious or not.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think Captain America has a pretty good plan here.
I do think this character design that you touched on is interesting. I think at least the artist's expectation is that moving forward, maybe the Green Goblin starts to get portrayed as kind of two-faced with a human side and a goblin side.
He looks like. Yeah, he looks like Two-Face. Yep.
I'll tell you right now that doesn't happen. The next time we see him, he's just going to be the goblin we know and love.
Well, I don't particularly like this.
I don't either, but I think maybe that was for a second what someone thought. Ooh, we're going to shake things up and make him look different.
So Captain America says they should just kill him, and Fury says that they need to study his DNA. and I know we've said it like a couple of times, but they're just going in a loop. This is like Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill. Like, guess what? Doc Ock's going to get his arms back, and Green Goblin's going to wake up from this cryo freeze, and they're going to cause more trouble. I mean,
they love studying things that they can't contain and that can kill them.
Yeah, that's true. So Captain America kind of shrugs him off and sort of like, not sarcastically, but I don't know the word, but he says, right, because the next war will be a genetic one, kind of throwing Fury's words back in his face.
Kind of tongue in cheek.
Yeah, tongue in cheek. And he tells Fury that it's men like him, meaning Fury, that really decide what the wars will be about. And then they begin planning the war, and by doing that, they will the war into existence. And Fury looks down for a second, almost ashamed, before just brushing Cap off and kind of giving him a little like hand wave, like brushing him off. And he just walks away. And the last page is Fury's helicopter flying away with the city in the backgrounds.
Cap's words made such a profound impact on Nick Fury. From one panel to the next, he lost an eyebrow.
This was one of my favorite scenes, Zach. I wrote it right after I said this is one of my favorite scenes. I love it when Cap stands up to Fury about morality. I loved it in The Winter Soldier, and I love it in this also. I think that those two are very, like, it's very good juxtaposition because they both obviously have a strong sense of wanting to do what's right, but Captain America has like always has the moral high ground on him, you know. He's like the angel on his shoulder, kind of.
Yes.
I think if I could add one more panel to this, and I just thought of this, and it would make me, it's the only way I'd love this scene anymore. It's if Captain America was like, I saw what the press secretary said about there being no casualties. His name was Hearth Michaelson, or whatever it was earlier.
I think that's the exact same name.
And he was a good man.
How'd you come up with Hearth Michaelson?
I don't know. I honestly immediately thought of the name Herman Miller, but that's like a famous chair brand, and that's how that's springboarded. But he does. You joke about him having an impact on Nick Fury, and it is funny because he did lose an eyebrow, but he does have an impact on him because even that one panel of Fury like looking down, you can tell he got to him, and Fury's not brushing him off because he's actually like brushing off what he says. He just is like, you know, he doesn't like showing that part of himself, I'm sure. So he's like, you know, whatever. I don't care about this.
Yeah. All right. Out of 10 Purple Heart awards for Hearth Michaelson.
9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 Purple Hearts for brave comrade Hearth Michaelson, who is only remembered in this podcast because in universe they don't care about him.
First soldier since the War of 1812 to die defending the White House. Probably.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. I think that is like a statistic, isn't it, or something? Did you just make that up, or is that an actual like?
Unless something crazy happened that I don't know about, I think that should be true.
Oh. We salute you, Hearth.
Yeah, we remember Hearth, even if the press secretary and Marvel and Bendis and the editors don't.
They remember him. They're just sweeping him under the rug.
Not if we have anything to say about it, listeners.
Yep.
Brian Michael Bendis is a menace.
Yeah. Except, as we said, I actually don't think that's true. I think it is a commentary on like them covering it up to be like the Ultimates are great and Nick Fury's awesome and blah blah blah.
Right,
but
really, this whole series is about Hearth, and you're supposed to question this.
Yeah.
If you don't notice his skull, and that doesn't keep you awake at night,
it's very prominent.
You have no heart.
This was my favorite issue of the series. Definitely.
Yeah, I'll give this a 9 out of 10. It didn't have the same problems as the other one. It is a satisfying resolution. I'm having a lot of fun talking about it with you right now.
We joke about they should just cut the arms up and they should just kill Osborn, but that's no fun. Sure, they could do that, but
do we want to read another 120 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man and know that there's never going to be another appearance of Doc Ock or the Green Goblin?
No. Okay, so for the series score, Zach, out of Sinister 6, what's this one score?
Man, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 6. Like, it was
a Sinister 4 out of 6.
It was enjoyable, but once I read some more comics and we get a few episodes away from this, I'm going to forget it all.
Yeah. Okay. I gave this one a Sinister 5 out of 6. Because there's only 5 people in the Sinister 6 anyways. I think that's one thing that probably would have bumped this over the edge to me. That it just would have been really great is if like Kingpin showed up when they were all at Kingpin's house, or if Magneto showed up and he broke out of the thing or something. And I know those two people probably aren't in the normal Sinister 6. All you comic dorks can get mad at me. But that would have been fun. I love Kingpin, so I was really hoping he'd show up at some point, or we'd get some sort of a 6th villain. We just never got one.
I gotta hand it to you. You've been beating that drum that there should be a 6th person since the very beginning.
In the Sinister 6,
you never gave up on it, even when the fight was futile. And I
thought Harry Osborn was coming in to be a villain.
Listeners, remember, we named an episode and Peter makes 6, and the next episode he still said, so there's not going to be a like, for real, who's the 6th person?
I thought there'd be one the whole time.
Yeah.
They played me.
Yeah. I do think it would have been cool to have gotten a 6th person, but it's not the hand we were dealt.
Yep. Really good, though. I liked it a lot.
Good.
It was a good little detour from our Ultimate run, our Ultimate Spider-Man run.
Which speaking of which, are back in next week. We will be reading issues 47 and 48.
Oh my gosh, we are just flying. What's you want to give us a tease for that? Where did we leave off? Who's Peter about to fight?
Well, I'll just say this. You remember earlier in Ultimate 6 when we were in Kingpin's house and the villains were talking about him having...
Are you about to tell me Kingpin's coming back?
Remember how they said he had a bunch of junk food in his fridge?
Yes.
Let's just say maybe someone was stocking that fridge lately.
All right. Okay. I can dig it. Nice. I hope that it is Kingpin. I hope you're not cheesing me. Because I've been waiting for him to come back ever since Peter put him away.
His lawyer said he could get it done. He just needed a little time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, cool. Oh, good tease. Okay, so next week, issues 47 and 48, Ultimate Spider-Man. Are we done with Spider-Man for the day?
I think we are. Have you got anything else for us, John?
No, I don't really. I did just now think of something as we were talking about that. You know, it's the first week in school with kids this week, and so they've been doing some like fun little assignments. One of them today, they did like an all about me thing, and one of the questions, this was the 7th graders, where if you could have one superpower, what would it be and why? What would you put for that, Zach?
Telekinesis.
That's moving things with your mind.
Yep,
right?
I've always liked it. I feel like that. I mean, it's kind of a cheat answer because that also gives you force fields. It also gives you flight.
Okay, I don't.
It practically gives you super strength
because you can move your body.
Most people can lift themselves and like fly themselves.
Okay.
What about you? What would you choose?
I think I would probably go teleportation, just to get into things like the Taylor Swift show, Or if there is an ability, if it is a superpower ability to freeze time, that's 100% what it would be. Because to have unlimited time, it would be pretty awesome, Yeah. Just freeze it before work or something.
I've thought about that. My version of that is I would either want the ability to like not need sleep and basically just double the length of my days.
Yeah.
Or there's a guy in X-Men called the Multiple Man, and he can just like duplicate himself and like I'm going to make 6 of myself and have 1 do dishes, 1 mow the yard, 1 pay the taxes. And the real me is going to go take a nap and then reabsorb these guys later, and those tasks will be done.
That reminds me of in Watchmen, where Dr. Manhattan is like working on something in the basement while he's also like pleasuring his wife.
Yes.
Weird stuff.
Yes.
That's a good one. Okay, so the reason I actually thought of this was one of the kids put Spider-Man powers, and I was like, that's not a superpower. Spider-Man has like 10 superpowers,
but not really.
And he's like, yeah, but I would just want Spider-Man's powers. And of course, it's like a 7th grader. Like, well, I'm not going to get into like a big argument or anything. I'm just like, okay, fine, whatever, obviously. But that's wrong. Spider-Man has like 10 powers.
I mean,
Spidey sense is its own power.
Okay,
Super
Spidey
strength.
sense, strength, agility. That's like 3. This kid's not gonna make his own web shooter.
Okay, so let me ask you something. This kid's powers, I guarantee you, he thought to himself, he can also shoot webs. But when he's thinking of that, is he thinking, I need to be smart enough to build my own web shooters? Or is he like, and I'm spider powers, I'm going to shoot webs?
I think he just thinks Spider-Man shoots his own webs. I think
that's his own power. So that's another power.
I guess.
Anyway, just having fun with the kids.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you have for us, Zach? Anything interesting going on today? Oh my gosh, I did just think of one other thing.
Oh, what's your other thing?
Okay. There's been a lot of talk on the internet saying that we stole the Barbie versus Oppenheimer review idea from Mr. Sunday Movies, who also came out with a Barbie versus Oppenheimer where they guessed the review. I want to be clear to the webheads. Even though on the last podcast I said going into it, I kind of stole this idea from Mr. Sunday Movies and the Weekly Planet, I just meant the guessing movie reviews idea. Zach and I did not steal the Barbie vs. Oppenheimer review. Their video came out after our podcast, and I'm proud of that, Zach.
You can check the dates, check the timestamps.
We
are right in this.
Timestamps.
Our lawyers will be moving forward with litigation on this matter. It's about to get really nasty.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, John, in a couple weekends, you want to go out on Mr. Sunday Movies boat that we're going to get?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sounds good.
They're in Australia. Maybe they'll fly us out for a nice little trip out there.
Yeah.
Okay, what were you about to say? What do you have for us?
Okay, so you know that quarterback show on Netflix that I was telling you that I watched? You probably haven't watched it.
I'm a co-host of the #1 sports podcast for comic book fans. So yeah, I've heard of the show Quarterback.
Yeah, I said I was done talking about sports today, but I can't. You can't take the fight out of the dog.
Yeah.
Well, there is another show that's kind of similar. Netflix used to put out seasons of it. It was called QB1 Under the Lights. And they've since removed it all from Netflix. They scrubbed it. They had an unfinished season that they filmed like 3 or 4 years ago that they just chose not to air because they thought the previous seasons of the show weren't getting enough views. And it was a show where they would follow like some of the top high school quarterback prospects and just film them, and it'd be like the exact same concept as the quarterback show, but for high school.
Okay.
That unaired season followed three. No, Peyton Manning has nothing to do with it. But it.
No, okay. I meant Manning's son, Marshall, who was probably in high school.
No, this was even before that.
Arch Manning.
This unaired season followed the senior years of three quarterbacks, two of which were Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson.
Really?
And
so are they going to air it?
They've edited it, and someone bought the rights, and it's now available on Tubi, which apparently is some app that everyone can get because it's free with ads. And it's up now. So probably what I'm going to do with the rest of my night is watch the first episode and check out a little documentary series of Anthony Richardson in high school.
Oh, that is awesome. You'll have to let me know how that is.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Let me know if that's definitely.
Yeah. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it.
I bet it's not something that's very well known. I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, I just think it's crazy that they had the footage and sat on it for their whole college careers because they didn't think anyone would watch it. And then one of those guys went first overall and one of them went fourth overall.
Boy, that's crazy. How lucky for the people. I wonder if they bought the rights before. I wonder like when the rights were bought for it.
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Because they probably just stumbled into a huge payday.
Yeah.
Except they're releasing it on Tubi. Sell that to Netflix or something.
It was a Netflix show, and Netflix deleted it. You can't find the first two seasons that were Netflix originals.
Man. Oh, wow. Yeah, let me know how that is.
Will do. All right.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Else? That's it. I don't have anything. All right. This was a fun read. I liked it.
It was. Take us out.
Okay, thank you to Ian Hickey for our music and Alyssa Seaman for the artwork, and thank all of the webheads for listening and leaving us a review or a comment. And you can find us, the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And you can come chat with us and leave us a message on Instagram at First Read Podcast. Send us an email at firstreadspidey@gmail.com or find us on YouTube at Ultimate Spider-Man Podcast. See you next week.